Hey there, my name is Rexy and today we are going to take a look at a demo for a game which shows best that a mental breakdown and taking over someone else's identity is not a valid coping mechanism. It's a demo for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. A little warning before the video. There will be talks of spoilers from the original game from 1997, for the remake from 2020, for Crisis Core, and basically all Final Fantasy VII media that one can imagine. I will also share my own ideas for possible solutions of the craziness that is this timeline. If you want to avoid spoilers, please watch with care. If you don't care about spoilers, please go nuts. Thank you very much. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the long-anticipated second part of the remake of the original game from 1997, and the first part was released in 2020. To cut down the story a bit, Cloud, a mercenary and ex-soldier, joins an eco-theorist group called Avalanche. This group, or better said this part of the group as they were kicked out of the main one for being too violent, is run by Barrett with the help of his friends Biggs, Wedge, Jesse and Tifa. Tifa and Cloud are old friends from the home way back in Nibelheim. So why are they an eco-terrorist group? Because of the huge company Shinra. They basically own most of the world and use Marco, which is the liquid form of the planet's lifestream, which is a substance that streams beneath the surface of the planet, and it contains the soul of the people which have passed, and they use it for their own purposes, thus hurting the planet and taking its resources without giving it back. It is kind of as if we were to take the soul of Bruce Lee and shove it into aspiring material arts students to make them better. Because that's what Shinra does with the Marco and their special unit, the soldiers. Anyway, Avalanche bombs some reactors, Cloud gets into a lot of shit, crashes through the roof of an old church, gets into even more shit. Tifa gets kidnapped, Cloud and his new friend Aerith have to save Tifa by playing the games of a notorious sex pest, the three get into even more shit, the plate of Sector 7 gets dropped and Fasten's die, Aerith gets kidnapped by Shinra, Barrett, Cloud and Tifa head up to rescue Aerith, and during all of this, somehow Sephiroth returned. Sephiroth was declared dead 5 years ago, but Cloud somehow gets weird visions and crazy headaches out of the blue, often seeing Sephiroth in these. If I didn't know better, I would say he was having one hell of a crush. The team rescues Aerith, find a new friend in Red 13, get to fight their way through the Shinra HQ, somehow Sephiroth is there too, and they all escape after some exciting boss battles. On the highway out of Midgar, the team gets stopped by Sephiroth and they enter a different dimension where they have to fight Sephiroth and the Whispers, enemies seen throughout the game but their real intentions are yet unknown. But what does this all have to do with the man called Zack, who shows up at the end of the game, somehow having survived a huge standoff against Shinra troops, and why is Cloud all delirious by his side? Who is Zack and how does his survival change the fate of Destiny? This is where the first game ended, and the ending honestly brought up more questions than it answered, and ever since, fans have been sitting on hot coal, eager to find out what the actual hell is going on in this timeline. Finally, we are getting a demo for Rebirth. It was announced on the 7th of February 2024, and when I tried to download the demo, the PlayStation Store kept crapping out on me. The issue for once wasn't my internet, but the millions of people wanting to experience more Final Fantasy VII at the same time as I did, all across the globe. Now let's talk about the demo and what's happening there. The group is in calm after escaping Midgar. During a rainy evening, Cloud tells the story of what happened back in Nibelheim to Tifa, who was present by the way, Aerith, Barrett and Red 13. The demo shows us the mission Cloud and Sephiroth are assigned together, to check out the Nibelheim reactor. With them are two infantrymen, one of them suffers from bad motion sickness during the ride to Nibelheim. Once they arrive in Nibelheim, Cloud has a chance to explore the town he grew up in and hasn't been in for about 2 years. People on the street recognize him. They love him because he's a soldier and he keeps them safe and will save them from the strange monsters coming from the reactor all the way up on Mount Nibelheim. He's a hero! He visits his mom, talks with the town folk, walks into his neighbor's house, Tifa's by the way, like it's no one's business, checks out her closet and gets called an asshole by Tifa and Aerith for doing this. In Tifa's room is a mini-game where you have to play the piano, something that's part of the OG game too. After the members of the crew got their rest for the night, they start at dawn to head towards the reactor, and their guide is Tifa. Together they make their way up the mountain, fighting enemies and evading dangers like Marco gas. On the bridge to the reactor, it collapses and the group falls into the river down below. Sephiroth rescues Tifa and Cloud rescues one of the infantrymen, but the other one gets taken by the water. Once dry and ready to move again, they make their way further up the mountain to the reactor. There, the infantryman and Tifa have to stay outside, and Sephiroth and Cloud venture in further. Inside there, they get greeted by pots filled with Mako. And these pots are things? Here, Sephiroth reveals that these humanoid things were experiments conducted by Professor Hojo, the creep we met in the first part. Suddenly, Sephiroth notices the writing Genova above a door sealed shut. As it was revealed earlier, Genova is the name of Sephiroth's mother, but she died soon after his birth. What is going on? Is he a monster too? The group heads back to Nibelheim, and Sephiroth locks himself in the Shinra Mansion, the biggest building in town. Cloud follows him and finds him in the basement, surrounded by books and research in a hidden library with a laboratory. According to the things Sephiroth had read, his mother is a 2,000-year-old monster? Ancient? It's not clear, but he believes her to be an ancient, the keepers of the planet. With her DNS, he was created, making him the last of the Cetra. In a fit of rage, Sephiroth destroys Nibelheim by burning it to the ground. He kills the townspeople and seriously injures Cloud too while he was trying to save his mother. But why is that infantryman calling out for Mama's drive too? Here, the demo ends, not showing us the happenings later on in the reactor. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Zack and Cloud. We all know by now that Cloud, in his Mako poison state, mixed up his own memories with Zack's and now believes himself to be Zack. We played through the whole sector as Zack, but through Cloud's eyes. Does it make sense? Let me show you some indicators. First, we have the infantryman, who is actually Cloud. During the ride to Nibelheim, he suffers from motion sickness. That's a trait Cloud and Yuffie have, but not Zack. In the truck, there's also a short scene where we get a closer look at the poor infantryman, and surprise, he has Cloud's blonde hair. Later on in the game, in the screenshot you see here, the guy's face is the exact same as Cloud's. In addition to this, Cloud's eyes aren't Mako blue. The Mako blue is a very striking color, and in here, his eyes are way too green for them to be Mako eyes. If he really were a soldier, his eyes would be Mako blue, just like Zack's. Back to the infantryman. Here you can speak with him. Now listen to his voice.
Speaking of which, I'll bet you're dying to hear about mine. Am I right? So, any friends here you want to see? Maybe a girlfriend?
Did you notice something? That voice is Caleb Pierce, who is Zack's voice actor. Zack and Cloud literally swapped places. The way Cloud walks and talks, he's way more cheery than his usual self in Remake. There are also parts of dialogues which sound very Zack coded, if you know what to look out for, by the way.
What are you talking about? Who told you that?
Also, Sephiroth remarks at one point that Cloud acts like a puppy. Who gets called a puppy? It's Zack!
Settle down. Zack the puppy.
Well, he gets called that by Genesis and then he tries to light Zack on fire, but that's just the way Genesis is. That's his gagged vibes coming through. Or the way he eats his sandwich there. That's just very much Zack fare. Also, if you take a closer look at Cloud's fighting, it resembles Zack's in Crisis Core and not his remake style. And the last piece that is really striking to me, the infantryman at the end of the demo reaching out for Cloud's home. That's actually Cloud, as we know, and it also explains why in the flashbacks we see in the remake, it is from such a weird point of view. One little bit I would have liked to see as the Zack and Cloud crossover, would have been the way how Cloud yields the Buster Sword. Zack carries it with the edge down, Cloud carries it with the edge up. In general, the whole Zack-Cloud thing reminds me of something I read in a book some time ago. In the Tom Clancy book, The Cardinal of the Kremlin, a woman is tortured. She's being put into a sensory deprivation tank. Basically, she floats in salt water at body temperature and her senses were restricted. Long story short, she couldn't tell where her body starts and where it ends. This reminds me a lot of Zack and Cloud. Cloud doesn't know where his memory ends and Zack starts. Also, if you have played Crisis Core, you realize that some of the memories are wrong. For example, Genesis is missing. In the reactor, where the real Cloud is not present, Genesis shows up to kick Sephiroth while he is already on the floor, telling him that he is a monster like the creatures made by Hojo, but he would still need Sephiroth's DNS to heal himself to stop his degradation. Sephiroth refuses and tells Genesis to go fuck himself, but very politely. Also, the picture taken of Cloud, Tifa and Sephiroth. It was always taken in front of the Shinra mansion, but this time it was taken by the gate into the city? That's also strange. Also, Zack never visited Cloud's mom, Zack never visited Tifa's house, all that jazz. In general, I love the demo so much. I'm playing the remake on the side to get myself into the vibes of Final Fantasy, and the demo of Rebirth is honestly something I wished for in my wildest dreams. Nibelheim looks fantastic, the lore expands more and more, and you might have to invest in some machine to constantly pick up your jaw off of the floor. The fighting is smooth. Playing as Sephiroth in these scenes is so much fun too. Did you know that he has 2 abilities, and one of them, Hell's Gate, is where he jumps into the air and impales an enemy from above? Huh? Sounds oddly familiar, doesn't it? Also the graphics, oh my Sephiroth, the graphics are amazing. I will never not be amazed by what's possible with today's graphics and how realistic it looks. Honestly, you could show me a picture of Nibelheim and tell me it's from some valley in Tyrol or Vorarlberg and I will believe you. By the way, Heim means home in German, so the name of the town translates to Home of Nibel, which is kinda cute in my eyes. While the demo took me around 2 hours to finish, it was a great way to get into the hype of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we should be prepared to have our minds blown. Now, to come to the speculations about what is actually going on in the game. While I do have several theories about what is going on with the timeline in this game, only the game will be able to tell us what is actually going on. My personal ideas are: Aerith and or Sephiroth are being time travelers to change the timeline to their interests. Aerith and or Sephiroth are jumping timelines to help themselves out in other timelines for their own success. Zack is actually dead and his arrival in Midgar is actually him arriving in some kind of purgatory. Marlene is actually an ancient, and that's why Aerith can communicate with her in 7th heaven. Of course, there are many more ideas all across the internet, but these are my personal ones. All in all, I'm very excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'm counting down the days of when the release finally is. Which is, by the way, on the 29th February 2024. It's so cool that we got an extra day in February just to celebrate Final Fantasy VII. Until then, I shall be waiting, even though it feels like kneeling on raw rice. Big thanks to the people who helped me make this video. This wouldn't have been possible without Tony from the Road team, who has supported me and helped me learn how to make videos, and of course my friends Michael, Mark, October, Evan, Roger and Eggman249, who supported me all the way. My name is Rexy, and this was my video on the demo for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Thank you very much for watching.